Let's try that again. Hello, the internet. I think the sound is working this time. Welcome to Let's Go Build a Bot, a set of Wednesday streams brought to you by Norfolk developers. My name is Don Davis. I've been a professional software developer for over 2 decades, which apparently allows me to talk authoritatively on the subject. Hopefully, this series will teach you some things, even if it's just that experienced devs get stuck regularly too. So far in episode 1, we put together a base project and got a toy app up and running in the form of our bot. And we also learned about the limitations of my setup and streaming, so apologies for the quality towards the end of that episode. Episode 2 saw us actually connect Discord and do some stuff. Admittedly some pointless stuff, but at least we now have a working bot and a working stream, so bonus points all round. This episode was going to be the addition of more useful stuff. However, it's occurred to me that I'm going to need to persist state. And given how I'm going to be deploying all of this, we're not going to be able to persist state to the local disk. So I'm going to have to flip the episodes around and cover AWS and deployment today. And as these sessions are mostly unscripted, unrehearsed and unprepared, we could be in for some fun. Having another session in the bank to fix any issues seemed like a prudent thing to do. I should also point out here that I'd ordinarily use a database for some of this stuff, but I'm paying for the upkeep of this bot. The cheap option is AWS Aurora, but I have never used that before, and while I'm happy to wing it with stuff I've done before, I am not comfortable learning on the go when we have a limited time frame. So with that in mind, I'm going to be using S3 as the backing store. So let's crack on, and first of all, I just need to go check what's going on with my view of the stream, because apparently live event playback is not supported on this client, which is not true. Let's fiddle around. Press play. There I am, looking at myself. Fantastic. So let's get this up. So I've disappeared. I figured you don't need to see my face while I'm talking, and you want to see the code. Let's first of all head off to where we should be. I was fiddling around. I have just had a brand new profile picture put together for me by the excellent Charlie Vince. I was just adding that to my talks repo. So we want to be going back a little bit and into Bitbucket and into me and into things starting to go into GoBot. Now I believe we finished this issue, so we can get done that, and we're back on main. And we're going to want new tabs, please. We're going to want after Bitbucket create a new issue. This is where it asks me to log in again. Into GoBot. Everything's been lovely inside. Let's actually just move that. So I forgot I had OBS open up on another screen, and that really slows my machine down. So I've closed that off. Right, so issues. And what we're going to do is we are, not now, don't need Jira for this. Create issue. Wait for everything to, I don't know if you can hear my fans in the background, they're good and warm. What are we going to do this? Make run on AWS. Fantastic, this is an enhancement. It's for me, it's pretty major because otherwise it's not going to work. Let's create ourselves an issue, and this should be number 4. It is indeed. So, back here, get new issue 4. Splendid. Right, what do we need to do? I've got some cheat sheets here, which I'm not going to show you because they're taken from some other proprietary stuff I've written, and I don't know what's there that you should be able to see and should be able to see, but we're going to copy from them. So the first thing is that we want to start looking at getting all of this running in Docker. So we're going to want a Docker file. Now, if you're not familiar with Docker, it's basically a way of running an application in a very isolated space. So it's called a container, and it basically provides you the services of an operating system without exposing the whole of the operating system to the app. Well, it's a massive oversimplification, but there we go. So we normally start from some base image. So we normally start from something that contains all the things that we want. In my case, we're using a Go binary, so we can start from scratch, which is the empty Docker file, which makes Go Docker images really quite small. What else do we need? We need to add. I can never remember whether it's add or there are two different commands that do effectively the same thing. I can never which way around it goes. But we want to add GoBot here. So we're adding the binary that we've built into the thing, and then we want to have an entry point, which is just going to be GoBot. But we need to be able to pass this thing some configuration, and I'm not entirely keen on having to pass in a huge string of command line arguments, because then you've got to worry about setting environment variables if there's things that you don't want to expose on the command line, and there's a whole load of different complications, and what I'd actually like is a config file somewhere. Thankfully, I have already solved this problem. So I have a package called, down a bit, learn the alphabet, GoConfigure, which is a lovely little library that basically allows me to configure from the command line, from environment variables, and from a JSON config file. I'm just going to leap into this Scratch project because I'll highlight one of the problems that that I've had with this. Sorry, excuse me. So if you are going from JSON to a Go type, you might define the type as, we'll just call this JSON for now, struct. This is going to be a JSON object, and we could have text, which would be a string, actually because it's, well, we have to do that. We could have a number, which could be an int, or we could have some floating stuff, a floating point number, which could be a float 64. JSON actually treats all numbers as float 64s, but Go will transfer anything that looks like an int to an int if you've said it's an int. Incidentally, an int under the covers in Go is an int64 if it's compiled for a 64-bit operating system, and an int32 if it's compiled for a 32-bit operating system. There are int32 and int64 types if you want to explicitly specify which one you're using. What else have we've got? We've got booleans. So we've got truthy. We'll dig at JavaScript there. Bool and null, which comes across as nil, but you can't actually define that. It could be any type. And then slices of stuff. So lists, slices, string, whatever. I think that's most of JSON. I don't think I've forgotten anything. If you use the flags library for command line arguments, then we can have text, which is a string. We can have numbers, which are ints. We can have, let's just copy all of this. I'm pretty sure we can have lists. I can't remember lists. And we can also have time, not timestamps, durations, which is the time dot duration. So that's something like saying 1h for 1 hour, or 60s for 60 seconds, or 1m for 1 minute. And I think that's everything from flags. And then you have the environment coming from os.env, which gives you that. Still can't spell. Now, they're not all identical, which can prove problematic. So I've written a little library that will just hide all of that crap away from you, does some evil things with reflections. Not the fastest code in the world, but this is run at startup when you're crunching the configuration and the command line parameters, so who cares? Right, so we're going to use this package, and I massively rewrote it recently, so I can't remember how any of this works. So I think we're going to go have a look at the example I wrote, because that's going to help us. So here is our example. So one of the things I wanted to be able to do was basically be able to specify a type that holds our options, so we can just lob this type all over the place and things can configure themselves. So we're going to want a set of options. Let's actually just cut and paste all of this out to our gopod.go. Let's call it configure for now. Let's shove that in there. It's going to whinge horribly at me. We'll just tell it to, yes please, pull that down. So that's just pulling the library down from the interwebs, and it should. I do love how it prints that in red. Successfully completed, all red. Make me feel confident about it. Right, so that should start disappearing soon, please. Thank you. There's wonderful indexing as my fans spin up for a different reason to OBS. Have a sip of tea, and while we're waiting for that, let's actually define our config type. And one of the things that we've going to run into straight away is that actually passing this type around is going to be fun if we define it in the main package, but we'll deal with that in a sec. For now, we're just going to have type settings. Here's a struct, and in there we are going to want a token, which is our Discord token. So we'll call that Discord token. Discord token, and that's a string. And we're also going to want, for various reasons, AWS region, an AWS access key, and an AWS secret key. Now, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to show you the config file that I've set up, because it's got all my tokens and keys in it. So that's going to stay hidden, but it is just a JSON file with the relevant entries in it for this to look up. What else do we need? Oh, we probably need bot name. Just call it name. Let's actually put that at the top, because that's kind of more important. So that people can customize what it's called. So this is our settings. Let's go have a look down here. Let's get rid of options. Right. Why are you complaining? Unknown field pointer to this chart. Have you pulled down the wrong version of GoConfigure? Like I said, re-rolled a whole bunch. Actually, definitely. Right, Bitbucket. Let's go make sure that A, we've pushed and released this version, and then B, what the version number is, to make sure that we're actually there you are. Let's go have a look at our commits, and there should be a tag on the latest version. No, there is not. Cool, we're going to tag that. Then that'll be why Go pulled the wrong version. So Go goes off to your Git repository of choice and pulls the latest tag. So we need to tag this. So live release going on as we speak. So we're going to call this version 4 because it was quite a massive rewrite. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. In your own time. This is where it disappears because I've clicked too many times. Yes, so v0.4.0, big rewrite. Done. Right, so if I go back to here, go have a look at my go mod and just cut and paste this and say go mod -u, go get -u, try and remember our commands. So this is just going to go off. The -u just says please update. Why didn't you do anything? Let's force the issue here. Well, it looks like it's happier. Or my laptop's hung, one or the other. There we go. So now, once it's done all the syncing and the indexing, these horrible error messages should have gone away. While we're waiting for that, we have this idea of options, an option set, and to that option set we can add various options, and we say where we want the option to be stored once it's derived, and then we want to define how we can set this particular option. So we can do this via a long or a short flag, configuration key, an environment variable, and we can also give it some defaults. So this means that we can have options that can only be set in some places and not in others if we want, or we can have it set or settable everywhere. So it gives us some options. Let's wait for it to sync. Oh, while it's doing that, let's just go off and I always end up with the config directory, just because of various things. So I'm just going to, oh, it's finally done. Right, so we're not using options. We can turn around and we can say, let's get rid of that. Replace that with settings. Replace all. And then of course we don't have these types. We've got other things. So we've got settings.name. Why are you whinging? Oh, right, of course. And a variable, not type. So settings.name, so this will be the bot name. So this description gets put out when you do a usage type command. I'm just going to have a long flag for this. Name, don't need to put in the minuses and stuff. It needs to be quotes because a short flag is a char, a long flag is a string. Config key is going to be name. So that's the JSON config key it's going to look for. And our default is going to be GoBot. Right, we want to add a few more. So we want this one is going to be our AWS region. Not entirely sure if you need AWS region for S3 storage, but I'm pretty sure that the library that I use to connect to AWS does require a region. So this is going to be region. A config key is going to be AWS region, and the default is going to be EU West 2. Now, ordinarily I would use EU West 1 for everything, but this is going to be holding a bunch of stuff which is related to what is effectively a UK Discord server, and given recent events, let's store this in the UK. It's slightly more expensive, like fractions of a cent more expensive to do stuff in the US too, and it's a little bit later to get newer features, but for what we're using it for, should be fine. I don't think I'm going to notice the difference on my bill. However, for data protection type things, should we get into that issue, we're better covered. Right, the next setting, and if yes, let's just also allow this to be set from the environment. So AWS region. Is that environment? No, wrong one, that one. Yes, short flag, long flag, envar, of course it is. Just because basically we want to be able to set that possibly from an environment variable. Right, so the next one we're going to do is our access keys. So our access key and our secret key, we're not actually going to allow the environment, the command line to pass it in, because just in case someone sticks their keys on the command line by accident. So we're just going to allow environment and config settings. I think it's AWS access key ID. Let's just, somewhere I should have something open that tells me. AWS access key ID. If you're wondering why you can't actually see my face, so that's good, because I was going to say the lighting on my face changes as I move between screens, as I have a really great big monitor pointing at my face, and when the screen changes between black and white, it does somewhat change things. Anyway, we don't need a default for that. And then last but not least, if I'm correct, yes, our AWS secret key. Is that ID as well? Yes, it is. So this becomes AWS secret key and AWS secret. So one of the things that this allows us to do, that GoConfigure allows us to do, is to actually load things from a config file. So I'll do a lowercase one here, config, which I believe is just a string. So we turn around and we say, now I need to define this by itself, because we need to pass it around and do a couple of things with the option that comes out. Now I'm using a utility function here that just is a bit of a shortcut for some things. So I don't have to fiddle around filling in the struct, but under the covers it's just doing this. And then we add that to our options set, but we also say we want to load using that option. This we can, so it's just going to be ops.parse. That checks out an error. Parse not equal to nil. Let's make this keep back an error. Error. Format.rf. Failed to configure bot. Fantastic, and we don't need any of this rubbish. This is just the stuff I was using to test. Right, so that will let us configure our app, but the problem is we now can't do anything with that configuration because this is in the main package and I'm not entirely sure you can pass the main package around. So actually what we want to do is have a config. Oops, well, it doesn't matter. Let's not go. Have a config directory and have a settings function in or a configured function in there. So we can take what we've just done. You can go down to here. Dum, bum, 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 bum. Oh. Turn now, so we can take this, yoink, and shove this there. And that's going to whinge because we don't have this, which we can take, yoink, and pop that there. That now needs to be exposed to the world. And we're going to return settings and an error, and then we can turn this into a type, and then we can say that var settings is of type settings. And then go back and change all of these into these. And last but not least, no, we don't need to. Already dereferencing there. In both cases, we're going to return the settings. Cool. Learn how to spell. Right, so that should allow us to we'll expand on these later. Spelling, configuring, there we go. Cool. So going back to our Docker file, our entry point. Right, you need to pass this in as a string, so it's going to be -c, and then config.json. So all we need to do is to make sure that actually no, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in that into Fargate, and I'll specify the S3 bucket where it's configured from. Right, so we need to just quickly make sure that our GoBot uses the configuration. Where did we put the token? There it is. So let's configure ourselves. Settings, configure. Nope. Configure. And we want some settings there as well, so we can't do that. We're going to log with error. Dum, 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 dum. Actually, no, we're not even going to do that. Can we set up a usage function up here? Usage, string, and then what we need to do then is pull this out. Oops, so that we've got access to it, and then we should be able to go return start usage string. usage returns the derived dispel, goodness sake. Boink. How many times can I misspell the words in this sentence? Bot is running. Dum, 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 dum. Right, so failed to configure. Nope. Usage. So we're going to format printf. No problem. Config.usage. And then we're going to os.exit -1. And I suppose technically I should actually be going to standard at this point. But faff. Well, actually, let's just do the faff. First of all, remember the correct. So it's format dot fprint. And then this wants something here which will be standard. There we go. Lowercase p, that's right. And then that returns an error, which I think we are just going to ignore because by this point we are in a bit of a tiz. Probably two things that come back from that. Yes, there are. Cool. So that's going to go to standard error and say this is how you use the app. And our usage settings will actually be quite detailed. Now for now I'm just going to pass in the Discord token and I don't think we can specify if anything is required, so we want to put a couple of checks in here. We'll do it as an if for now. I'll probably change it to a switch in a bit, but if settings.discord token is empty, error. Bot requires a Discord token because we can't do anything without that. Right. And we're also going to chuck the usage out. So this now should, he says, all compile. So we should be able to make a run. And it should whinge at us. I haven't done a make run. Okay, go run, go doink. Let it compile and then let it whinge because we haven't given it any configuration. So here we are. Not entirely sure why. Probably. No, I don't know. Exit stage is 255. Anyway, this is the usage output it puts. Maybe that's what the usage is for. So, no, usage is that. Dun, dun, dun. So what I'm thinking is that usage may actually do a little bit more here. Doesn't return anything. I think that may already go to standard out. So we don't need to return anything, so we can just do Aws.usage. Usage print the usage string. And then we can go back down here. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. We can just go config.usage, and here we can just go config.usage, and then we can rerun that, and then I actually want to see what's going wrong because I think we're hitting the if error equals nil or not equal to nil. Yes. Now, the reason why we have this ridiculous usage of blah is because it's actually picking up the name of the executable, and GoRun has gone off and done a whole bunch of stuff in a temporary folder. So this is where it's compiled it down to and where it's running from. Normally that would just say gobop. Right, but we have at least this usage information which tells us how we can set various things. Here I am just going to fail to configure bot. What is going on here? So as expected, that's interesting. I think we found a bug in the GoConfigure library after I have written it. So what we're going to do quickly is pop over to here, pop over to here, and just raise ourselves a little bug. Interestingly enough, that shouldn't be an issue anymore. Resolve. This should be fixed. 0 version, but we've created a brand new bug for ourselves, which I'll fix another time. Create issue. It's a bug. It's pretty major. Think that's English? I'll know what I mean. Right, so but what we actually want to do is to configure ourselves using the config files. So if we -c, and then I should have a config file. Let's just make sure I've saved that config file. No. Learn how to JSON. So I'm so used to doing Go, where you have to put a trailing comma on a on the last item in the list. That I forgot to take it off. Now I'm very confused. Failed to configure. I'm looking for beginning of object key string. That all looks like valid JSON to me, so why are you whinging? What I'm going to do, you can't see what I'm doing here, but I am just going to create ourselves a little empty config file. Oops. Let's cancel that out. Right, let's copy and paste this into here. So that's new file config.json. And into here, it's not imply anymore, pop that in there. So I've just blanked out the tokens and stuff. So if I run this with that, bot requires a Discord token, so that is passing that. Am I going to the right place with this file? Possibly not. The The joys of doing things in several different places. I'm just going to quickly pop do not disturb on. Dun, 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 dun. Until this evening, just because I'm getting mentions on things that don't really need to pop up here. Not that you can see them yet. Okay, so where were we? Ah, yes, the configuration file. Did I rerun that? I'm sure I did. Yes, I must have done. Bong, 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 bong. What do we call the various settings? It's got the name, region. Have we forgotten to actually set a Discord token in here? We have. What an absolute muppet. Right. We're going to do the same as the AWS stuff. So that's going to be Discord token. Sure, I said in there. Going nuts. Maybe I overwrote it with one of the AWS ones, or the bot one or something. Right, Discord token used to connect the bot. We're not going to have a flag. We are going to have a config key, which is token, and GoBot Discord token, and we're not going to have a default. So let's see how the bot is running. Right, let's pop ourselves over to Discord, and there is the bot. Hurrah! Hi Pedro. Did you watch it later is my question. Right, so that has now worked from a config file. Now, one of the problems we had there was we don't know what's set, what's not set, and that could be problematic. However, we don't want to be popping out that we've set things and saying, hey, we've set this super secret thing. So I generally have a function which I've copied somewhere. Where did I put it? Not there, not there, not there, not there, not there. There it is. Now I may have put this into the library. I can't remember whether I have or not. I'm just going to put a report function in. And what report is going to do is just log out what we've actually got. Now let me just see if go configure dot. No, I might want to add this. So I'm just going to pop this function in here. So this is a Sanitize function, and what we're doing, all Go variables, or types, should I say, have a 0 type, which is the closest way that you can get to checking if they're not set for the what effectively the base types. So what Sanitize is doing is it's saying check the type V that we pass in. If it's set, display the word set in the in what we return. If it's unset, return whatever we set in unset. Otherwise, well, that's it basically. And the reason why they're all interfaces is we don't know what type we're checking, and we don't know if we're going to be returning and checking a string or what have you. So this allows me to say the value of something if I'm happy for it to be shown, or put in things like set, unset if they're not. So I'm just going to chuck in a couple of consts. Const, and we're going to have set is set. That should be a round, not a squiggly. And unset, somewhat controversially, as unset. So we can then, with report, Let's just quickly yoink, and then rename the log. So log.with fields, log.fields, settings. So we can turn around and we say, right, we've got bot name, and we don't care if we see the bot name or not. So we're just going to put that in straight as. So I'm going to have to pass the settings in here. So there's going to be settings, settings dot name. Right. Region. And for this, we again just settings dot region. Let's put a token up here. Token. Discord token, and we're going to sanitize this. So we're going to sanitize the settings dot Discord token, and then we're going to have set and unset. Hurrah! So we want the AWS stuff as well. So we've got the region, AWS key. Sanitize settings. Oh, that is right. AWS access key. Just pop the word access in there. And that will be set or unset. And last but not least, AWS secret key. This is sanitize on the settings for the AWS secret key. Can't spell. Doink. Yeah, set, unset, right. So I should be able to Cool. Run the bot up again. So I know that I've set my access key, my secret key, and my Discord token. Sorry, I know I've set my access key. My secret key is unset. That's worrying. And my token. So I've probably got a bug in there somewhere. But I'm not leaking those details out to the world. Which is the key thing. We don't want to be chucking all this stuff all over the place. So let's just double check those settings. AWS secret key. Let's go have a look at that. AWS secret key. Spot the deliberate mistake. Better. Okay. So our bot's running, and we can now tell that we set things. So we can now configure our bot. So I can dump something on S3 and do that configuration. So let's just quickly add those settings, this Docker file, and ignore the. Actually, let's just delete the config.json. It's useless. that change? Let's also just double check our makefile. Right, so this is quite a simple makefile. Let's grab a more complex one. Here's one I've prepared earlier with a few bits I've forgotten to change. So actually, I'm going to call that GoBot. So what we're doing here, this is a slightly more complex makefile. We're just setting a few things up. So basically, if we haven't set a binary in the environment variable, call it GoBot. This is the image where I'm going to push things up to Docker. This package thing is going to use a nice little feature of Go, which allows you to set variables at compile time. So we do actually need to go off and add some things in this package. We need a build.go, and in here we need to set build timestamp, build hash, and build version. And build version. What I might actually do, because I handled this differently than the thing I copied it from, I might actually make these like that. You're going to whinge that you're unused, but we will use these in a bit. So back to my makefile, let's just make these slightly bigger. So when we compile, we use these LD flags, and all we're saying is actually set the build stat, the build hash, and the build version, and these are got from Bitbucket. And effectively, if we've got a Bitbucket tag, we use the tag name. If we've got a branch, we tag it with the branch name. Otherwise, the tag is, and then we shell out and get the current Git branch. And if we don't have a tag set, then the tag is dev. Most of the other stuff is reasonably the same, except I'm doing this on a Mac. Docker runs binaries as a Linux, so we need a way of compiling to Linux. So this is doing a cross compilation for Linux and AMD 64. There's our Docker build, which will build our Docker image. And go run as go.go. Actually, I'm going to leave this particular make target out, just because this is the run is really just a utility target for me because I'm lazy, but it kind of relies on my setup, and as this is going to be looked at by others, we will not chuck in things specific to my machine. Some guff relating to make, so that should be a slightly more complex makefile, which will support our Docker file. And then just quickly, let's go off and say let's actually get these some defaults. Actually, we've got an unset already, haven't we? We already have an unset. Let's just use that. So now we can log these out when we start up. Dot with fields log dot with fields log. Glad to see I'm awake. I'm also glad I've given myself potentially 2 sessions to do this, because we're nearly an hour through and I haven't really opened AWS yet. Fun times. All of this is needed because we need to be actually effectively, much as I hate the word, productionizing this particular application, allowing it to run in a real environment. So we've got our build, which is config dot. So build hash. Build timestamp. Don't know why I'm expecting that to autocomplete, it's not going to. I'm going to put this. Logos will actually reorder these, but just in terms of semantics and scanning in the code. Build version. Put the version in the hash, then timestamp. Cool. So our makefile will actually populate those things when we build the binary using this makefile. So in theory, let's just kill that. In theory, I can make Docker, and all will be fun. Docker dashboard is showing a lovely exclamation mark, but that's just for an update. So we should be able to run this. So this picks up a whole bunch of stuff, gives it to the Docker daemon, and Docker daemon is now sorting itself out, building up my container, and I should now be able to say Docker run minus R. I'm just going to get it to delete the image after it's finished. I don't Davis gobot latest, and then we should be able to just pass in the them. Nice. So exec format error is basically the version of Linux underneath is whinging. Just wondering, these have been built for bigger AWS boxes. This might require how much? 386. Let's do the googlings on this one. Doink. Gosh. Not what I was looking for. Go off and go arch. Bum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. It is 386. So let's just try that again. So we will make Docker. And no, it's fine. Spot the deliberate error. The Docker target was not building the binary for Linux prior to doing the Docker build, so the binary it was picking up was the binary for the Mac that I'd built, I don't know when, a while ago. So that's why we were getting the incorrect architecture. So that has now built the binary for Linux. Compilation, if you're doing cross-architecture compilation, is slightly longer and builds a slightly bigger binary, I think, because you've got to chuck in. Actually, no, that might not be true. I think the binary may be the same size because you've got to chuck in all these static libraries. Right, so let's try our Docker run again. Dun, 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 dun. Better. Now, the reason why that has failed is because it cannot see that file. The process is running in its own sort of container, and that container has not had that particular bit of the file system exposed. I can't remember what Docker maps what to what. So what we're actually going to do is we're just going to give it a few more options. And we are going to say, I don't want to mount the whole of my home directory, or do I? Let's just see what way it's mounted on a Mac. Let's do it down here so you can see as well. Docker Mac mounted. Does. Yoink. Yes, I don't care about that. I'm pretty sure that there's something that's mounted by default on the Docker desktop for Mac. No. Not what I'm looking for. Welcome to Dom Googles the Internet. Nope. Okay, fine. We'll do it the old school way, and we'll just tell it where we want to mount. I will just mount my home directory. So we can turn around and we can say, I would like you. I can never remember which way around this goes. I'm going to have to re-Google that. So -v, show me the damn options. Show me which way around they go. Oh, we'll find out. It'll whinge at us. Yay. So we should be able to. I think that's saying mount my home. I don't know whether you can do relative. Let's do absolute users. Diversity. So that's just going to mount my home directory on the root directory. So we should just be able to then go that. Boing. Destinations can't be / right, fine. We'll mount that under config then. At least I got the right way around. So that means we're loading this from config. That's what it's going to end up looking like. Yay! Right, I've had this problem in the past. So, because we have mounted everything in the Scratch Docker image, there's nothing at all. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to negotiate some SSH or some X509 type communications, and it has no certificates to check anything. So if I just quickly bob into that, copy these certs out and shove them there. Okay. So that's just the set of certificates that's needed. Let's just grab this Docker file. Yoink. So let's remake our Docker image. And what we'll have now is an image with the binary and the certificates. And wow, does the compiler make my laptop go warm. Okay, let's run that again. Right, bot is running. More importantly, the bot is running from a Docker container. Great. Hi, Alex. I would like to accuse him of being a child, but actually I'm just jealous I didn't think of doing that. Although I have the microphone, so hi YouTube. Right. I bet Alex is now wetting himself with laughter. So, derailed. Ah, yes, right. Fargate in AWS, so we need to shove it up to the Elastic Container Service, which is going to read from the container registry, or ECR. So we need to do a whole bunch of pushing to AWS, and thankfully Bitbucket makes life very simple here. So this is currently our Bitbucket pipeline, where we just make CI using a Docker image that I have for Go development. But what we can do, if we go find the correct thing. Where is my correct thing? There it is. Yoink. And cut and paste that in. So this is a much more complex Bitbucket pipeline. And we're actually using this idea of definitions. So you can define things in YAML. This particular thing here is an argument both for and against using YAML. It is actually quite powerful, but it's hideous to read and to know how it works. But we're effectively defining something that we can refer to later. So I'm defining some steps. I've got a build. That's going to be GoBot. Spot the package I pulled all this from. We're going to push to ECR. We're going to deploy to Fargate, and this little bit here is because we're going to need a task definitions file for Fargate, and effectively we're just going to stuff in a whole bunch of stuff from the environment. So Bitbucket pipelines allow you to use these deployment pipes that make life easy for you. So this is an ECS deploy. It'll just load stuff up to Fargate. This is an ECR push, which will load things up to the ECR for you. So it'll probably whinge because I suspect these pipes have moved on in version, but in theory, if I set up the right deployment environments and set the right variables, this should just push up to ECR. So there's a bunch of steps we need to do here. First of all, let's just save that off. Let's grab our definition file. Is that it? That's it. So this needs to be called task definition. New files. This is task definition.json. Shove that in there. Now, I got the basis from this by setting up some stuff in Fargate, looking at what it produced and just copying it out. And then from there, I have just copied and pasted it around. This particular time, I've made it slightly more configurable, so there's a few more environment variables than I would normally use. I've been meaning to do this for a while. It seemed like a good idea to do it now. So let's hope we remember to set them all. But this is basically what tells Fargate how to deploy. There's not a huge amount here. It's just saying what role it gets to use, where the cluster is, what region it's in, where we're streaming to, what logs, ports and stuff like that. In fact, I might not need a port. Might take that bit out for now. I'll leave it in there for now. We'll see. Where the image is coming from, if the image is essential. So essential images mean that if they fall over, Fargate will restart them, but you can have sort of rider images that can fall over or just be there for startup. And then how much memory and how much CPU and stuff we want. So that's that. Right, so a bunch of things need to be set up. First of all, we're going to need somewhere for this to go. Now I've set up a user already, user Astro. User Astro has no permissions, and there's a reason for that, because I want the minimum set of permissions viable to get this thing running. What I'm using here is actually my company AWS account, because then I can expense the running of it and claim the tax back. But there's a few other things running on here that I really don't want this bot to get access to. So using I am and a user with very limited permissions allows me to control that somewhat. So let's go off first of all to ECS, the Elastic Container Service. So this is Amazon's version of Docker Hub, which I can have behind security, and their way of running things up in the cloud serverless or with servers using Fargate, depending how you want to do it. So I have no private repositories in London. At the moment, I want to create a brand new repository, and this wants to be a... actually, I could probably make it a public image. I'd make it a public image. Just go nuts. I've never done a public image before. This is just new. Namespace. Okay. What is registry alias? Oh, I could probably chuck that up. So let's just call this GoBot. A default alias is associated with the public alias. The registry alias is displayed as a prefix. A custom alias can be requested on the registry settings page. Fantastic. Repository logo, don't have one yet. Short advert for Andy Carolan. If you ever need logos, go speak to Andy Carolan. He's excellent. I may nudge him for something. Discord bot written in. Go. Actually, do I want to make this public because of the support things that come in if I do? No. Going to keep this private for now. I can always re-release it. I'm going to namespace it like this. So I namespace all of my images just so I know what they're doing with. So it's either company name or if it's me, and just shove my name in there. Tag immutability basically means that you can't change tags once they've been created. I'm going to leave that disabled because I have a main tag that gets pushed quite a lot. Don't care about scan settings, don't care about encryption. It's just, that number's fine. Create repository. Right, I've got somewhere for my Docker image to go. So the next thing is I need to go to here, go into my repository settings, and set a few things. So if we go down into our pipelines, and then we have repository variables. I've already set up a couple prior to me starting the stream because don't want you to see them basically. So Bitbucket handily allows you to have secured variables. Now we need to look at what it is that we need to set. So we've got our AWS ID, AWS region we can set. So AWS region is going to be EU West 2, I believe that's right. And then the cluster. We haven't defined a cluster yet, we'll sort that in a bit. Just add that in there. Service name, service memory. I will go grab them from something else later. Service CPU as well. Actually, service name we can set. Service name is just going to be GoBot. Don't need that to be secured. Annoying that they have it secured by default, but absolutely correct. Wouldn't have it any other way. Service command we don't worry about yet. Service port we don't worry about yet. Cluster and binary. Binary. I need to set that. Let's go bot. Add that. Bitbucket branches are set by Bitbucket for us. Bitbucket tag is set by Bitbucket for us. Sure, there is something else. Maybe it's in the make file. No, because I've hard-coded the IDOM Davis bit. And task definition. I think we're all good. Right. So that's that set up. Now, we have defined a bunch of different deployments, so we need to set those up. No. Right, I'm going to call these different things because I can. They're defined up here. So we have, our first one is ECR dev, which is effectively our test environment. And we can set custom variables for things down here if we want to. Our staging environment, ECR main, for want of a better word. So basically this is just going to be, it's just going to be the main branch built as a, so this is going to push the dev branch that we've created as a Docker image up to ECR. This is going to push the main branch when we merge the dev branch up to ECR. And then in the production, we're going to have two targets, ECR latest, which is going to be, the latest tag. So whenever we tag something, this is going to fire off. And then we need to add a production environment, and I think we called this just ECS. So that's actually the environment where we're pushing the thing up to Fargate, and we will probably set a bunch of the extra things there. Let's just see whether we've got anything that shouldn't be. These are all fairly. Actually, service name we might want to move. We want to change it and dump that from there, and move it down to our deployments. So underneath ECS, which is where service name is going to make sense. Maybe I should call it for now. We can always change this later. Add. Doink. Yeah. So that is Bitbucket set up as much as we can for the moment. And then this is where it gets fun, because I suspect the build is going to fail quite a lot now. Now, I would love a setting in continuous integration services that allows you to just tag something that says, I'm messing around with the deployment, please don't really regard the next few failures as failures, allow me to sweep them under the carpet, because I often end up with large blocks of dead builds while I argue and try and get all of this sorted. It's all roughly boilerplate, it's all roughly cut and paste, but there's always different tweaks between different services that I'm running, and it's never done enough for me to fully remember how to do it all. So let's just pop that in there. Let's commit this and see what's going to happen when we push it up to Bitbucket. So this is number 4. Initial 4. Needs to AWS. It's most things in here. So some more comprehensive make file. Docker file. What else have we done? Allow configuration. Go configure. and add deployments to the Bitbucket pipelines. Not going to auto-complete that for me? Fine. There we are. Let's commit that. Let's just make sure we've got everything first. Yeah, let's review that. Incidentally, for those of you with Apple Watches and I believe Fitbits, it's time to stand up. Spot someone with an Apple Watch, 10 to the hour, and they will stand up if they're bothered by the fact that the watch has just bugged them. No, we don't want to close. Yes, actually, no, we don't want to close after the thing is merged, because actually this may fail even after we've got past the sort of the merging parts. This can be all good fun, because we've added steps that happen after the merge and the review. So my builds are going to take longer, because they're now doing stuff with AWS. Let's just have a quick check what we've done. We've made a much bigger pipelines. There's our Docker file. Going on, we've added go configure. We've added the config stuff. Might want to pull that out at some point and handle valid configuration in the config package. I'll do that another time. Big old make file, which I cut and paste, so should be okay. Task definitions again, cut and paste, so should be okay. There's my config things and my settings. All good, right. Let's see whether that's done its build. No. It doesn't look like it's even trying to build. There's issue 4. What's going on here? We couldn't find any pipelines that match your... What have I done wrong? Oh, I know why. I know why. Because we cut and paste this. And our branch keys are different. So it wasn't kicking off any particular builds. So we'll commit that in, git commit file, four. So for this very eventuality, I have a git update which does very much the same as git review, except it doesn't open the page because we should already have it open. There we are. Now we actually have a build that is in progress. Back to pull requests, and this should tell me that it's updated. Reload page. And we actually have a pipeline that's run. Let's go have a look at that pipeline, see what's going on. I'm going to assume that Bitbuckets are clever enough not to put the oh, I'll tell you what we forgot to do. Right. Well done. Well done. It seems like we're going to have to moderate the bot channel, or I create my own Discord server. Right, so I completely forgot to actually see whether this passed the build locally, which of course it won't, because we've got a whole bunch of linter errors, and linter errors are, as far as I'm concerned, compiler errors, and thus the build fails, as it should be. Now you'll notice here it's actually doing slightly more, and has set a whole bunch of stuff. So if I was to run the, has that done an actual binary? If we just run gobot, doink. No, I didn't put the version out before we. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do that before we do anything else. Do it that way around. Oi. My machine is getting slow. Right, so we need to rebuild it. I'll do that in a second. Right, so settings needs to have a config needs to have a doc.go. So doc.go, package config, comments go to the top, package config handles. Also store for global variables. So on building, I really cannot type today. The makefile, makefuel typo I do so often is ridiculous. All of those need to have is set by the makefile, and is the time the binary was built. Build hash. Is set by the makefile. You can spot a pattern here. And is the git hash. Was built. Note if there are uncommitted changes. You're not liking about that. Two T's. Note if there are uncommitted changes in the repository, then the hash may not be accurate, but we don't care because we're in dev. Why don't you like that? And last of all, build version is set by the makefile. Same from the git branch. Git tag. That's probably enough. Nope. Let's remake that. Excellent, so that's actually built that time, and if I run the binary, why are you still not popping out? Definitely going out to GoBot. Oh, is it something stupid like I've got it set not to show info? Oh, even more stupid. Just want to build info for now. Put something better there if you want. So we'll build that again. Finally, so when it runs, it's going to give us some information in the log file, so we can actually see what it is that we're running, and we can also display that from a command. So we can see what version is running up on the Discord server. So we can add that next week. Half an hour to go. I'm not entirely sure we're going to get this fully deployed, but we'll get most of the way there. Right, so first of all, config directory, we need to add that. Bung this in. Commit directory. Issue number 4. Fix linter errors. Yoink. And then here. Number 4. Log build info as first log message. Let's update that, and now hopefully it'll actually build. Ironically enough, this particular failure would not qualify for my I'm messing around with the build targets, please let me have cheap failures, because that was a me mistake. I should have typed in make before I pushed. Now I know it's building clean. Any further failures are kind of ones I couldn't check so easily, and then once we get past the actual merging of this branch, they become things I can only really check if I actually log the build out there. What you're chugging along, let's go just check the pull request again, because that's going to be updated. Yep, failed. Let's see why that failed. Ew. Sorry, this is a brain because the other thing is it's going to fail with permissions, because I haven't given that user any permissions. So we may look at giving those permissions as well. But what have we done? AWS default region image name. Let's just have a look at the repository settings. I thought I'd set these. Deployments. No, repository variables. Right. Going to set that there, and I knew there was another one I've forgotten with the image name. So my thinking here is the AWS default region is the region that it connects to in order to do the sort of the authentication. The AWS region is going to be used by Fargate, and they might not be the same settings. If if I'm pushing out to let's say an HA site in a different region, but I'll set the AWS region in the deployment. And let's just do that now. before I forget. So AWS region, which is my variable, not theirs. EU, not secured. EU West 2. No, that's not how you spell EU. Well, it depends on the newspaper you read, I suppose. Satire. Okay, we need to sort out permissions. And we need to do that under IAM. Loads of IAM users are going to pop up. When I set up this user earlier, I'm like, why have I got so many users? And then I looked at them all and went, oh yeah. That one. That one. And I think I handily have the permissions I need. Yes, it's this one here, I think. Let's grab that. So we're going to add an inline policy, JSON, have some of that. Right, so that's going to be EU West 1, and my account ID. Cluster. Let's just call it -j for now, and then the service will be. Or is it going to be? Do it that way around. That's going to come from Dom Davis. Cobot. Think that should give permissions. In answer to the question, where did I get that JSON from? I went to a different service that I'd set up. I went, showed me the JSON, I cut and pasted it out and removed a few bits and replaced them with placeholders. And going back to the time I did this, I basically kept trying to do stuff and Amazon would whinge at me for not having a particular thing, and then I went into this sort of view and added the bits. So I have been through the I've been through the fun of actually working out what it is that's needed, and now I just have a new thing that I can cut and paste. You can use various things to handle all this programmatically, but I'm going to say so rarely. It's not often that I fire up services like this from scratch in this fashion, so I tend to just do it by hand. What are we going to call this? We are going to call this the GoBot Astra access. Could I add the policy JSON to the repo? I guess. What I will do is I will add the placeholder one, which doesn't have my account ID and stuff in it. I know you can get it from this video, but it's a bit more faff. So let's just create that policy. Let me grab this, and let's shove this under here. Go about directory, AWS policies. Let's just call it AWS. We may put other things in there. So new file, and this is the IAM policy. .json, notify. There we go. I'll shove a readme in there as well. New file. AWS stuff for excellent naming. IAM policy. There's a template. Inline policy for your IAM user. There's the. Let's actually do it this way. Lock. There's the. You run in. I'm so used to typing the US one. ACTT is your number. Linux console. Illustrates the ECS cluster name. I'm just thinking, and service is the oh no, we will actually have to leave repository and stuff in there, so no out of there, comma, and name is whatever you've called the Docker repo, Docker image. So if you use the correct variables and stuff in Bitbucket, which I'm going to probably stick in here at some point as well, that will allow you to just push this up to your own repo and deal with it. Let's commit this directory, and number 4, add some details for AWS for those playing along at home. Review. No, didn't want to review that. Where are we? I need to add that to. Oh no, I've already added to my user inline policy. So that should now have access by dint of the fact that within my repository variables, I've set the access key and secret key, the programmatic keys I've given that user. Now, the great thing about this setup is should for any reason I leak that key to the interwebs by accident, I can just revoke it, and it's only for that particular bit of access. So I can then just go off and set it up again. Everything else that I'm doing on AWS is absolutely safe and 100% secure. Right, let's try. Actually, that repush of things will have kicked off that build again. He says. Let's reload the page and see whether it's lying to us or not. No, it's not lying to us, and it failed 10 seconds ago. Excellent. I've now changed my plan for the end of this tonight's stream from being let's get this running on AWS to just let's get this building. We haven't quite yet got to the pleading stage, and unfortunately I have to keep this PG-13 so we can't get to the swearing stage. Did I not set that? Did I not? Am I? Brain. I did not. Image name. Doing shoot. Boing is I, Dom Davis. GoBot. Let's add that. Let's rerun you. And we can just rerun the failed steps. Don't need to do the build again. And then we get this entirely pointless click an extra button. And hopefully you will go off and do the thing. Now this pull request is getting bigger. Why did you just tell me that I failed? Lies. Maybe it doesn't update it when you're doing individual bits. I don't know. Maybe it's eventual consistency. Gotta love it. So we'll go check that in a bit. I just want to double check some of the extra things that I've popped in here. Alex says, please don't swear, we need the money. This is all looking fine. Right, let's go have a look at this pipeline and see what is going on. But we set an image name. Sure we did. Let's just rerun the whole thing. I'm wondering if when you rerun a step, if it doesn't pick up any changes. So it didn't pick up a new environment. And so it fell over. That's my hope anyway. Let's hope it's going to work this time. That looks slightly more, that looks slightly better. He says. It's just the first bit. Cool, we don't have to, oh hang on, oh no, that's fine. We don't have to go through, I'm hoping, the 7 stages of build. Which is shock and denial of the build failure, the pain and guilt of the fact that we got it wrong again. The anger and bargaining, please work. Depression, why is this not working? Then the upward turn, where is the upward turn? Image name, not funny. What am I doing wrong here? Repository settings. Oh, have I done something dumb in the code? Oh, I have done something dumb in the code. Where are we? We want repository variables here. I don't use image name. I just use name, I think. Brain's gone to pot. Image. That gets mapped to image name. So now back from there, pipelines. Back to this one. Let's just try rerunning the failed step. It's definitely looking like the upward turn. We are at least doing the reconstruction and the working through, and now we have acceptance and hope. 7 stages of building. I don't know why it keeps pulling that image. I'm sure I put some caches in here. No, I've put caches for Docker. I haven't put caches. I wonder if I put caches in for the pipes. That's something for me to look at outside of this, because ooh, build went up. Right, so if we go to here and here, we have a repository, Docker image. So as you can see, this has been tagged with issue 4 and dev, because it's not a live push yet. We're still in the whole, are we going to accept this? Are we happy with this pull request? So if I happy with that, let's prove that. Let's merge that. Close the source branch. That will now go off and fire up the main version. So this is effectively building a release candidate, something I can pull down and run if I wanted to. While we're doing that, let's just tidy up. For some reason, I've got Safari on the other side of GoLang when I moved everything down here, which is why I keep going the wrong way. It's just the way I drag the windows down when I was setting up for the stream. Right, so we're done here. We can get done. Switch to branch main. It'll put everything out. We may need to make changes on this issue, but we'll have to recreate the branch now because we've merged it. And we need to sort of pull that update. While we're waiting for that build, we're not going to get as far as getting ECS running. But what we can do is we can set up the S3 bucket that I'm going to use. So off to S3. Nice and fast. And I need to create a brand new bucket, which is going to be... Yeah, just got pasture. Can't spell. So that's in EUS2. Bucket versioning, I'm going to enable. And I am going to enable encryption because I'm putting keys up here. And we'll just use the Amazon S3 key. Don't worry about object locks and stuff like that. So we can create this bucket, which no one has access to apart from me at the moment, which is a bit pointless. However, if we go into permissions and edit the bucket policy, we can do policy generator, that's what I want. No, I don't want that. That looks horrible. I want the thing that I can paste stuff into. No, it's just there. Didn't click in the right place. Right, so this little bit of magic basically just allows access to an S3 bucket from within a certain Amazon VPC, so a virtual private cloud. Now I'm going to be running all of this in a VPC that I've got already. So basically this just defines your subnets and what have you for your applications. And I don't mind sharing this particular VPC because it's just got rubbish running on it. So I can take my VPC ID, I can shove this down here, pop that there, and job should be a good one. So that should allow access to that S3 bucket from within Fargate, because the Fargate processes will be running on that particular VPC. Saves me having to set up other permissions. Right, so that's set. Let's just go pop that little bit of S3 bucket policy.json, shove that in there. Nope. That in there. We'll sort that later. And we will go over here and we will have a look at our commits and see whether we have a past build. We do. So if we go back to our container registry, and have a look at this particular thing, we should now have, yes, 2 copies of our Docker image. One that's built with dev and one that's built with main. Now the digest has changed because the binary has changed, because we've rebuilt it, but we've rebuilt it with updated build information. Everything else remains the same. We'll end up with a 3rd image next week when we actually set up Fargate, because we will tag stuff and it will get pushed up to Fargate. But we have 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left. Not setting up a Fargate service in 3 minutes, but we're close. Ooh, Alex is saying this is super helpful. I've wanted to see tag DevOps for ages. Well, you'll have to tune in next. Well, I know Alex will have to tune in next week. He's got to moderate and set up. But everyone else will have to tune in next week. Now, I'm just going to quickly finish off by popping this into the new issue 4, just chucking it under the same issue. Yoink, 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 yoink. Commit that. 4 add S3 policy template. Chuck that in there. Let's just update the README. S3 bucket policy .json. Let's make these nicer. Like this. It's a template for S3. Oops. And persist changes. No, not persist changes. The policy at the moment only allows get. We'll have to change that next time. So we've got VPC, the ID of the VPC you want access to, and the bucket is the name of the bucket stroke directories you want to give access to. Excellent. Let's just bung that in. Git commit that particular file. Issue number 4. Great, so I can get a review of that, and when that's built, I can merge that back in. I can close my issue, and we are done with 10 seconds left to spare by my watch. The stream may be slightly delayed, but my watch is the one that counts. All that remains is to say thank you very much. Press all the buttons, do all the YouTubey things and the social things. Tell all your friends. I've been Don Davis. Tune in next week where we potentially finish this gripping, if I say so myself, installment of Let's Go Build a Bot. We may go on for extra episodes. We haven't decided yet. Something that Alex and I are talking about, but I would like to continue. Anyway, I will see you next week. Have a fantastic one, and stay safe out there.